Welcome back to the couch, you amazing, twisted mother lovers. I pile myself with research every week to bring you the most ultimate twisted story I possibly can. And remember, everything I cover is based on true events. So go ahead and pull that twisted couch up and invite your friends back over because it is time for me to take you on a twisted journey into the unknown in today's episode of Twisted Couch Talk. All right, guys, welcome back. It is Friday, and you know what that means. It means that it's Sloppy Joe Day, and you guys are munching down on those delicious, delicious Sloppy Joes. And it means that you're going to pull up a couch and come sit down and listen to an amazing, twisted story. Now, what story do I have for you guys today? It's a good one, and honestly, you guys might have to pause it. This is going to be a really messed up one, so you might have to pause it a couple of times. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I tell you every time, I can't believe it. It's just, you guys are downloading and messaging me, and just everything is just watching it grow, and it's growing fast. It's just so cool. Thank you guys for just giving me love and support and just everything. I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you guys. Now I got to do a shout out for a certain twist head that suggested the Chernobyl meltdown for me. His name is Colton Favinger. Colton Favinger, thank you for suggesting for me to do the Chernobyl meltdown. I had fun doing it, and thanks to you, you recommended it, and it was a pretty good show. Now let's get down to the country shout-outs real quick. Finland, Canada, United Kingdom, and, we got another one, Denmark. Welcome, you guys, and thanks for choosing the couch. Come sit down. It's warm, comfy, and you will enjoy it. Announcement. Now, for every country that's new that comes and sits on the couch, I'm going to cover something messed up in that area. Finland is first. Finland. I've got your story. I'm in the process of making it right now and putting it all together and making it all twisted and delicious and tasty for your guys' ear holes. Now, that won't be out for like maybe 2 more weeks. I'm working on it because I want it to be good because, that's pretty messed up. And now I am available on YouTube. Yeah, go check out the YouTube. It looks great. Go check it out. Subscribe. And I'm available everywhere. You can literally hear me anywhere. It's just, it's so cool. Now, the Facebook page, we talk about it every week, guys. Every damn week, we talk about the Facebook page and how you need to get over there so you can stay in the now. Don't stay in the past or the future. Stay in the now. What we're going to do this time is we're going to grab that bag of nuts from last week and pick it up over our heads and fucking smash that follow button. Get over there, click that button, maybe once or twice, possibly thrice, but follow the Facebook page so you can stay in the now. The bag of nuts reference was Florida Man last week. Go check it out. It was actually pretty funny, pretty good. Patreon, really quick. Check out the Patreon. Go over there, subscribe. It's a monthly thing. You pay anywhere from $3 to $20. What kind of twist head are you? Pick from 4 different tiers. Or if you don't want to do that, go over to PayPal and donate to the show there at twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. Donate anything that you guys would like to donate to the show. It will help me get more equipment, etc., etc. And if you do, I will give you guys each a shout out. As soon as I compile a list of people who donate, we'll have a list of everybody who donates to the show as a shout out, as kind of like a sponsor. Yeah, you'll be sponsors. But enough of all that business bull crap. Let's go ahead and get to the topic because I know why you guys are here. I know why you came and sat on the couch. You don't want to talk about business. You want to talk about maybe a nurse that's completely twisted. But let me ask you something. When you think about a hospital, you think of people getting help and treatments, right? Or you may think it's a sorrowful place of death. But overall, when you walk in for a usual checkup with your infant, at least you know you're walking out with your precious child. But if you ran into this nurse, she would just turn your beautiful daydream into your worst nightmare. What nurse, you ask? Well, let's dive into the abyss and discover who the nurse of nightmares really is. Okay, so let's talk about a woman named Beverly Allitt. I think it's Allitt, Allitt, Allitt. She is also well known as the Angel of Death or the Nightmare Nurse. But that's going to be later on. Let's go on ahead and learn about her upbringing. Beverly was born on October 4th, 1968. She grew up in the village of Corby Glen in England. It is near the town of Grantham. She had 2 sisters and a brother. I tried to look up their names and see if I get more information about them, and I couldn't. It's just not documented. Okay, her father's name is Richard Alit, and he had worked as an off-license. And in the UK, that's basically a shopkeeper that sells food and drinks, liquor, candy, basically kind of like a gas station, but a store. But overall, he didn't really make that much money. Her mother, Lillian Alit, would work as a school cleaner. She also didn't make that much money either. So in summation, they were a really poor family overall. She did have a good upbringing, such as very loving parents and siblings. No traumatic things really happened to her. No rape or anything like that, which is awesome. It's good for storytelling, but overall, let's let's minimize that. But growing up, she really didn't get that much attention either. It was because others around her had thought she was ugly. Though it was known she did have very loving parents, and they had always been attentive to her no matter what, but not as much as compared to being needed to be rushed to the hospital. This was a huge blow to her self-esteem, and she soon realized as a young child that if she wanted to get attention, she would just have to get injured. Because every time she had scraped her knee or fallen down, that's when she would get the most attention. She had thrived off of it and would even cause injury to herself by cutting her arms or scraping her knee or falling downstairs on purpose just to have to go to the hospital to get attention. So in her early years, she was very well known to wear bandages, casts, despite not having anything wrong with her. She was just trying to use it to gain the attention of others. She would also visit hospitals for illnesses she didn't even have. This eventually led to the unnecessary removal of her appendix. So to please her, the doctors continued, because your appendix really doesn't do anything. I had looked it up, and all I really got was that it's believed that we just evolved to the point that we don't need it anymore, and it ultimately has no purpose. As she grew up, she became an outcast. Throughout her teenage years, she would gain weight to the point of obesity, and this would sadly take a huge toll on her self-esteem. But overall, her interest in seeking men had increased greatly. Her desire to be loved and adored had also increased dramatically. So through the last of her teen years into her adulthood, she would become well known as a doctor hopper. That basically means she would falsely say what was wrong with her to get whatever treatment she needed from the doctor, and when the doctor would get tired of her constantly coming to the hospital with nothing wrong with her, they would stop seeing her, forcing her to go and seek out another doctor and continue the process, hopping and hopping. So when you really think about it, she's a lot like a homie hopper. And I had looked this up, and there's no definition anywhere, so I'll give you a definition. A homie hop, which is a woman or man that seeks love or intimacy with their significant other's closest friend or friend in general, seeking whatever their partner is not giving them. See, I kept it a little bit professional. Don't be a homie hopper. And that goes to guys too. Girls have homies and you be hopping on them. Come on, everybody stay loyal out there. Be over here homie hopping and doctor hopping and just hopping. Go quit hopping. Don't be hopping no more. But overall, she just wanted attention, and therefore she was diagnosed with Munchau Syndrome later on in her life. And for those who don't know, Munchausen's syndrome is a psychological disorder when somebody pretends to be ill or deliberately produces symptoms of illnesses in themselves, basically to gain the attention of others and make them feel better about themselves. Now, Munchausen syndrome actually comes from this man who would go around, like way back in the day when they discovered this, he would go around from town to town to town and tell ridiculous stories that obviously you wouldn't believe, but he always had stories and stories and stories and stories. None of it was true, and he just wanted to gain attention. So that's why it's called Munchau Syndrome. I believe that was his last name. I believe. Look it up if you want to, double check. So when she felt she wasn't adored enough or treated well enough, she would act extremely violent towards her boyfriend. And she would also threaten him of false claims of rape and pregnancy just so he wouldn't leave her. Not only that, people would say she would humiliate him in public by shouting at him or even assaulting him wherever they were. There had even been a time that she had beaten him severely. And domestic violence, guys, it goes for girls and guys. If you guys are in an abusive relationship, get out of that. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth the toxicity. Her boyfriends later on would call her the Fable because of all the stories that she would come up with. And they would also say that she was aggressive, deceptive, and very manipulative. I believe those are traits of a psychopath. She would go on to fail the 11th grade at Charles Ray's secondary modern school and had failed to get into grammar school. That's kind of like Ricky off of Trailer Park Boys when he's trying to get his grade 10. And all he wants to do is get his grade 10, sell a little bit of dope. Come on, Julian, get off my back. Let me get my grade 10 already. Okay? Let me just go get my grade 10. We'll sell a bunch of dope and we'll be all right. We'll be millionaires. It'll be fucking great. And then we'll shoot off some guns and go to jail. Trailer Park Boys, if you guys didn't know that, that's an amazing show. Check that show out. If you didn't know, this has actually been said a bunch of different ways. Her grade 11 for Canada, or for the UK, they say 11 plus. And, you know, in the US, we say 11th grade, 12th grade. Everywhere else, they say it a little bit different, and I had no idea. If you watch Trailer Park Boys, you'll learn that because he's trying to get his grade 10, damn it. Because she had failed to get into grammar school, this would take another huge toll on her self-esteem because a lot like Issei Sagawa, she felt ugly and stupid inside. And if you don't know who Issei Sagawa is, I've said it so many times already, go back to episode 1 and listen to the Sagawa episode. You'll know the reference. And now she feels like she won't progress in life because she is stupid or not clever enough. She would go on to say that she loved children and would go on to be an amazing babysitter throughout her teens after she had failed the 11th grade. This would create a spark, and she had decided that her dream was to care for precious children in all of Europe. So she would go on to take the course at Grandson College to become a nurse for children. Even though she was not intelligently inclined, that truly isn't why she failed the course multiple times. Yeah, she had taken it multiple times. If you fail a course once, you should probably not take it again because you're just wasting money at that point. Obviously, it's not for you. Anyways, she would actually fail due to becoming absent from school way too much, being gone due to illnesses, hospital trips. It just seemed like everything that she had said was way more important than working on her studies and doing it right and, you know, trying to pass the class. She would try to get out of that. She would just say she's sick and get attention from it and just, you know, flunk out that way. But after a period of time, she would finally pass just barely after failing so many times. But while she was staying in the dorms, there was a lot of really twisted reports that came to the surface, such as people would find bags of human feces, curtains had caught on fire, things would come up missing, and all this was happening while she was attending, and nobody can really link it to her. They would find human feces smeared all over the wall in the nurse's home where she had studied. And so they couldn't exactly, you know, chalk this up to her, but all this started happening when she went to school there. So I'm going to say, yeah, she did it. It's why? Why would you do that? Why would you smear shit on the wall? You got it on your hand. You got peanuts and corn all over your fingers with some peanut butter. You don't, come on, you smear it on the wall. I'd punch you in the throat. Smear poop on my wall, I'm punching you in the fucking throat. Don't be smearing no shit on my wall. So I started thinking about this a little bit more. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want anybody working on me that couldn't pass the teachings of their practice. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Would you let a brain surgeon remove a tumor that's embedded in your brain with a damn D+ average? Hell no, I wouldn't. But they went ahead and gave her degree. I don't think they should have. She would graduate from college and go out to seek her dream job. And we all know what that is. She wants to be a children's nurse. So it was hard for her to find work in the field due to the fact that she had zero experience and she is fresh out of college, and caring for children by babysitting doesn't count for shit. In December of 1990, she was extremely fortunate to land a job at a hospital on Ward 4. I'm assuming that's a floor that they labeled like OB floor is on the 5th floor type thing. You know what I mean? She had been extremely lucky to land a 6-month contract working for the hospital as a trainee. And it was a blessing to the hospital because they had been extremely understaffed. At the time, there were only 2 daytime nurses and 1 nighttime nurse. They had desperately needed the help. So she would go on to start work in 1991. She had been very well liked by the other nurses due to her hard work and being punctual and available all the time. But in all actuality, she would be the angel of death. And all the other nurses loved the extra help, saying basically she was a godsend, but it would only last for a short while. Actually, that thought would only last for about 60 days. She had applied for another position initially, but it was denied due to the lack of experience. But working hard in Ward 4, she would be able to gain the experience that was needed to have the job she had really wanted originally. The floor that she had worked on was basically for the sick children that needed your basic fluids or medicine to get over sicknesses. So after she had been working there for some time, there was an urgent call for the respiratory team to come immediately to room 305. The respiratory crew runs to the elevator and hops in. As the crew is coming up in the elevator, the lights shut off. But the elevator continues to go up. They hit the 3rd floor. The elevator door opens, and they are greeted by nothing but darkened hallways, only lit up by emergency lights. But they had to continue to the room as fast as they could. When they got to the door, they had no idea what they had in store for them. As they approached the door, hearing screams echoing throughout the halls. They make it to the door, and it suddenly became uncomfortably quiet. They slowly open the door, and they see a figure. Then they soon realize it's a famous doctor from the area, Mike Roch, laying lifeless on the floor, looking back up at them. They were stunned and frozen in place at what they were seeing. As they look at the horrifying scene, they see a person in a nurse's uniform on their knees, hunched over the body. And to be honest, it looked like they were mourning over the recently deceased. There was a huge puddle of blood around the victim's body, and a bloody scalpel lay by their side. As they approached the person, they said, "Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am." It slowly turned its head and looked over its shoulder. But it turned out that it wasn't a person at all. They looked at it, horrified at what they were seeing, as it gargles quietly and looks over its shoulder with piercing, cat-like eyes. But where the white part of the eye is, it was red. And the center of the pupil was yellow. And as it looked back over its shoulder, it showed a horrifying grin filled with razor-sharp teeth to the points. And these teeth looked like the Rocky Mountains. They were pretty fucked up, but it doesn't matter. It turns out, as it's looking back at him, it slowly stands up and turns to them. The creature is about 5 foot tall, green skin, humanoid-like, fucked up cat-like eyes. It has really, really long fingers, like 2 inches longer than a normal person. It gave out a loud screech. Ah! A man begins to walk forward and asks if everything's okay. And the thing immediately attacked him and ripped out his throat and continued hopping all over the room like a hunter off of Left 4 Dead. He's bounding all over the room and lands on the far side of the room where it's darker. The legendary Bob Ross kicks the room door in with a paintbrush-shaped M16 in his hands. He stands in the doorway with a cut-off t-shirt and Crocodile Dundee shorts and looks through the creature through his aviator sunglasses and said, "I'm about to paint a red canvas on your chest, you spawn of Satan." The creature continues to jump around the room, screeching, "Ah!" and an ear-piercing sound, and Bob fires a burst of rounds, shooting at him over and over again. As the creature is jumping around the room, he finally lands a blow to the shoulder. It hits his shoulder. The creature rolls along the ground and looks up at him with a look of pure hatred towards him. The creature rolls to the floor with green-like blood gushing from his shoulder. He looks back up and gives another bellow. Ah! As the creature looks up at him, the legendary Bob Ross says, "Say your prayers, you spawn of the underworld." The creature just looks back at him and lets out one last long screech. Ah! As Bob shoots the deadly blow at the creature's forehead, it quickly hops and leaps out the window, leaving nothing but broken glass behind in its wake. Bob sprints to the window, rips his glasses off, and says, "Until next time, old friend. Until next time." Okay. That was a really, really long one, but come on. I had to bring your attention back, get you back to the story. That was fun. We now have Bob Ross and Issei Sagawa. That creature the whole time was the piece of shit Issei Sagawa. Now, if you don't know who Issei Sagawa was, go back and listen to the episode. If you don't know who Bob Ross is, go back and listen to the Russian Doll Man. I hope I got at least one. If I got two guys, oh, definitely amazing. But if I got one of you guys and you were just like, what? Why are the lights shutting off? What is the creature? Why is there a creature at a what are we? I thought we were talking about a lady here, guy. No, okay. So I had some fun with that one, but let's get back to the story. That was so fun to tell. On February 21st, 1991, 7-month-old Liam Taylor was admitted to the ward for possible pneumonia. It was actually really common in the UK at that time for, young children to be sick in the wintertime. So it wasn't really unusual for, children to come into the hospital being sick, especially in the wintertime in the UK. But Liam's parents bring him in, and Beverly had reassured his parents that he was in capable hands and would be cared for, so they had went home for the night. But when they returned the next morning, they were informed that he had suffered a respiratory problem during the night, but he had recovered and appeared to be doing just fine. The next night, Beverly volunteered for an extra night of duty. At one point during the night, she was left alone with little Liam. Moments later, Beverly summoned the respiratory team once again. He had stopped breathing. Despite all efforts of the team, Liam had suffered severe brain damage and was only alive due to life support. Knowing the doctor's concern and knowing that he would never, ever recover, his parents made that heartbreaking choice to remove him from life support and pull the plug. That's so sad. Like, there's parents out there that are trying to have kids and they can't have kids, and then they get this little blessing, they get this beautiful little blessing, this beautiful baby boy, and you have to make that ultimate decision to pull the plug. Could you do it? I got 6 kids and I couldn't imagine pulling the plug. I couldn't. It'd be so hard. That would be so hard. Anyways. His death was listed as heart failure, even though her fellow nurses were confused about the failure of the monitor's alarm going off. Like, why didn't the oxygen monitor go off whenever it said that he wasn't breathing anymore? They were like, why wouldn't it go off? And Beverly was never questioned. He had been there originally due to a very minor chest infection and was supposed to go home the same day and maybe get some antibiotics, but he would ultimately leave in a body bag. Also, just after this baby boy's unfortunate passing, 2 weeks later, another child would succumb to an unknown death. Little Timothy Hardwick, age 11, was a mentally disabled boy and had suffered cerebral palsy and was admitted to the ward after having an epileptic seizure. Beverly was left to care for the boy while the parents were away getting rest or maybe relaxing, knowing their son is in good care. But she would again have to summon the emergency resuscitation team due to him going code blue in the hospital. The team included many pediatric specialists. They were uncertain as to why the boy dropped dramatically, but the heroes were successful at reviving the boy, and they had eventually chalked it up to one of his seizures. Kaylee Desmond, 1-year-old precious baby girl, she was admitted to the ward for a chest infection. She would stay in the hospital and had seemed to be covering quite well. Like, she was doing great. She'd be a little baby in there, being strong, she's doing great. But you're not going to guess who they got to call. It ain't Ghostbusters, They're not calling Ghostbusters, they're calling the resuscitation team again. And they had to come and revive that poor baby girl. They had ended up having to send her to another hospital because after the deaths, they didn't know what was going on and they didn't want to risk anything. So as soon as that happened to her, they sent her off. And you know what? Awesome. It takes a lot of pride for a hospital to do something like that, to be like, I can't care for this patient anymore, and send her off. And that saved that baby girl's life. So when she gets there, the doctor there giving her a good look over, and he had found a weird puncture wound in a really extremely weird place underneath her armpit. Okay? Like, obviously, if you see it like a spot where there's a needle underneath somebody's armpit, especially an infant, obviously they can't do it to themselves. So, like, obviously it was something bad. Why would you have a puncture wound underneath your armpit unless you're trying to hide something, right? And on top of that, the area was extremely swollen and looked like it was aired up like a balloon. And if anybody knows anything about injections, if you go to administer an injection and there's air in the needle, that's why doctors do that little squirt thing and a little bit comes out. It's because they're getting all the air out of that needle. And if you were to push air through the needle, the air will get into your bloodstream and it can cause immediate death. So that's why they always get the air out of the needle. And would you believe it? over all of that, they see that injection wound and they don't do anything to figure it out. They just, oh, well, whatever. You see that and you're going to ask questions. It's a baby girl. You should ask questions. Why is there a little puncture wound underneath? Did these doctors inject her with something? No. Okay. So foul play, but for some freaking reason, these guys are too stupid and didn't investigate. But she did recover and she did survive. Thank God. So some more time would pass, and Paul Crampton, 5 months old, was admitted to the hospital for a chest infection on March 20th, 1991. But overall, his recovery was going extremely well and made a fantastic recovery and ready to go home. But when he was left alone with Beverly, she had to call the respiratory team again to come and save the day again. Like, come on, there's a pattern here. Somebody just starts, and there's a pattern. Every time she's watching a child, this is happening. But nobody picks up on it. It turns out that the baby was suffering from insulation shock. And this had put him in a coma 3 different times. Lab searches were done, and it had turned out that his insulin levels were through the roof. And like so extremely high, no infant on earth would ever have it that high. Ever. Even if you had diabetes or anything like that, it wouldn't be that high ever, especially for an infant. So he was sent off to another hospital, but Beverly insisted that she had to go with him and just make sure that he was okay and watch over him. It wasn't possible to make sure she finished a job or anything like that. So after that, the next day, Bradley Gibson, only 5 years old, admitted to the ward for pneumonia. He had suddenly gone into cardiac arrest, and the resuscitation team was called once again, and they would go on to check his levels, and this included his insulin levels. But they tried everything they could, and he would, in the end, succumb to cardiac arrest. Yik Hung Chan, 2 years old, he was admitted to the ward in fall of March 21st, 1991. He suffered an oxygen desaturation attack before he was transferred to another hospital where he recovered. The next ones to die were 2 beautiful twin preemie babies. Yes, preemie babies. These babies weren't even full term when they were born. Just little precious little tiny little things. And Becky Phillips was admitted to the ward for gas problems. You know, her stomach filling up with, gas and pain and all that. And she was there on April 1st, 1991. And that's not an April Fool's joke. And she had a color to her as if her blood sugar was low. And they had sent her home saying she had such and such problems, and they had sent her home with them. And she had died later that night in her daddy's arms. Katie Phillips, the twin of Becky. She was admitted to the ward as a precaution following the death of her sister, worrying that this was a gastric-type death. And they didn't want it to be contagious, and they were concerned about that, and they didn't want anything to happen to her sister, so they take her to the hospital. She would... See, I'm sorry, this is the part that it's just, this is all shitty. Like, this is all hard. And just talking about it, it makes it difficult. It really does. It does. Yeah, okay, so she had to be resuscitated twice. I don't know if you've ever seen a child be resuscitated. I have, because when my daughter was born, my second daughter was born, she went code blue a few hours after she was born. That was literally the scariest moment of my life. Whenever that happened, the nurses came and rushed in, and they took her away, and I just had to see my daughter get carted away, my newborn baby, get carted away, and then work on her and suck everything out of her mouth and do compressions on her chest to make sure she starts breathing. It's horrible. It is so fucking horrible. I don't wish that upon anybody, but this preemie baby that was smaller than my child, and my child was small, had to do that twice because of this piece of shit. Sorry, it makes me more mad than anybody can ever imagine. This is why I had to stop, because it got me emotional. I teared up. I'm not going to lie. Like, this is a touchy subject. I mean, I'm a father of fucking 6 kids, and if they had the guillotine nowadays, I would recommend that for her. That's all I got to say on the subject, and we're going to continue before I get too grumpy about it. Like I was saying, she had to be resuscitated twice after an unexplained anemic episode, which was later found out due to extreme amounts of insulin. Following the second time when she stopped breathing, she was transferred to another hospital, but by this time she had suffered permanent brain damage, partial paralysis. She was paralyzed, and she suffered blindness. This child went blind. She's paralyzed, blind, and yeah. In a twist of fate, her parents had been so, and this is a fucked up part, they had been so grateful that Beverly was there to care for Becky. They had been so grateful, they even asked her to be Katie's godmother. What? Oh my. She accepted, of course. I mean, why not? Give her round fucking 3. Why not, right? Why not? Next, Clara Peck. She had only been 15 months old when she was admitted to the hospital following an asthma attack on April 22nd, 1991. After being put on a ventilator, she was left alone in Beverly's care for a short period of time. And within that short period of time, the little baby goes into cardiac arrest. This isn't like a baby. This is a toddler-ish, a little bit older than a year old. SIDS is common, like, with 12 months old and younger. So it's like, you can't blame it on SIDS. It's just like, what is causing all this? Why? After being put on a ventilator, she was left alone. She was resuscitated, but she had died after a second cardiac arrest. Again, following a period where she was left alone with Beverly. And due to this death, it had actually triggered an investigation. Fucking finally, how many kids have to die in a weird way that nobody can explain for a fucking investigation to start? Gosh, it shouldn't take this much, guys. I'm sorry. And on top of all of that, so she had also suffered from brain damage due to all the bull crap that was happening. And all this happened within a 60-day period. All these children that I just talked about, everything happened in a 60-day period. The doctors had no idea what was going on. They had thought whatever it was became airborne because they had never seen anything like this before. So due to this, they would send off blood work and they had found insulin. So due to this, they had sent off blood to get it tested and checked out. And they had found idacaine, and that's a medicine that docs prescribed for cardiac arrest. And because the levels were so high, that's truly why the investigation started. But before they had found out what was going on, it took them 2 months. 2 whole months to figure out what was going on. And within these 2 months, who knows she hurt more kids or not. When she was accused of what had happened and all the evidence started piling up on her, she was not terminated, but told she couldn't come back to work until this matter was resolved. Stuart Clifton, the police superintendent assigned to the investigation, suspected foul play. He examined the other suspicious cases that had occurred in the previous 2 months, finding inordinately high doses of insulin in almost all the cases. Further evidence revealed that Beverly had reported that the key was missing to the insulin refrigerator. All records were checked. Parents of the victims were interviewed, and a security camera was installed in Ward 4. Throughout the investigation, one thing the police were looking for was the nurses' logs. So if you think about it, it's almost like a hospital is one of the best places to do a murder. Think about it. It's one of the best places to do a murder because right after somebody dies, they immediately dispose of all the evidence. In a hospital setting, they're not disposing of the evidence. They're disposing of hazardous material, potentially whatever. They got to get rid of all that stuff, throw it away. But if you're a murderer and that's what you want to do, they're cleaning up your crime scene for you. And after all that evidence is destroyed and thrown away and all that, they have nothing to prove, no fingerprints, no anything. So it was actually really hard for them to put Beverly on trial. Throughout the investigation, one thing the police were looking for was the nurse's logs. This was important for the nurse to maintain, especially in this moment. So it would show where the nurses were and when they had been there and what time they left. The police had eventually found the logs in Beverly's home, almost as if she was keeping them and hid them away as some sort of trophy. By July 26, 1991, police felt that they had sufficient evidence to charge Beverly with murder, but it wasn't until November 1991 that she was formally charged. When the police were finally notified, they examined the records of the 25 suspicious cases. So out of the victims, there were 4 who were dead, either had high levels of insulin or potassium or both in their systems. When she was arrested, she had shown calm and restraint under interrogation, denying any part in the attacks, insisting she had merely been caring for the victims. While she was on trial, she had lost a lot of weight, making her look like a pencil. Overall, she had lost 70 pounds and was just a former shadow of herself, literally. After numerous delays due to her illnesses, she would finally go to trial on February 15, 1993, where prosecutors demonstrated to the jury how she had been present at each suspicious episode and the lack of episodes when she was taking off the ward. So basically they're saying as soon as she got hired on, all this started happening. Babies started dying, children were getting injured, and then the investigation starts and they go ahead and take her out of the hospital because of obvious fucking reasons. And as soon as she's fucking removed from the hospital, everybody stops dying. It's a little fucking suspicious, don't you think? Just a little bit suspicious. The evidence about high readings of insulin and potassium in each of the victims, as well as drug injections and puncture marks, were also all linked to Beverly. She was further accused of cutting off her victims' oxygen either by smothering them or tampering with their machines, causing them to not be able to breathe. Her unusual behavior in her childhood was brought to light, and the pediatrics expert, Professor Roy Meadow, he had explained Munchausen Syndrome. He had also explained Munchausen's by proxy syndrome to the jury, pointing out how Beverly demonstrated symptoms of both, as well as introducing evidence of her typical post-arrest behavior and high-incidence illnesses, which had delayed the start of her trial. It was Professor Meadows' opinion that Beverly would never be cured, making her a clear danger to anyone whom she might come in contact with. After a trial that lasted nearly 2 months, Beverly was convicted on May 23, 1993, and was given 13 life sentences for the murders that she had done and attempted murders. It was the harshest sentence delivered to a female in the UK. Beverly's trial judge recommended she serve a minimum term of 40 years, which would keep her in prison until at least 2032, and she would be at the age of 64. And even then, she could only be released if she was no longer considered a danger to the public. In August 2006, Beverly launched an appeal on the length of her sentence. In 2006, the BBC made a dramatization story called The Angel of Death, and it had been starring Charlie Brooks. On December 6, 2007, the High Court ruled Beverly would have to serve at least 30 years in prison, meaning she would now have to wait at least until 2022, and she would be at the age of 54. And then she can apply for parole. So rather than going to prison, Beverly was incarcerated at Rampton Secure Hospital in Nottingham, a high security facility mainly housing individuals detained under the Mental Health Act. While she had been there, she began her attention-seeking behavior again, ingesting ground-up glass or even pouring boiling hot water on her hand and body. Beverly subsequently admitted to 3 of the murders for which she was charged, as well as 6 of the assaults. The appalling nature of the crimes placed her on the Home Office list of criminals who will never be eligible for parole. Thank God. Thank God. So in the end, she's going to be incarcerated forever. And like I said a little bit earlier, if they still had the guillotine around, I mean, you know what? My hand's going to go up for, yes, let's go ahead and behead her. Because she horrifically murdered infants and babies and hurt children. Like, did the most horrible thing. You know, this is going to sound bad, but you kill a man, you know what? Boys will be boys type thing. It's messed up. You shouldn't kill anybody. But when you kill a child, an innocent baby child, they're innocent. They're innocent. They don't even know. It's the worst fucking thing you can do, and I hope she rots and burns in hell right next to Sagawa and Eileen Wuornos. And let me just go down the list of everybody. She's got a seat down there too. I hope. But enough of all that talk of Dante's Inferno. Let's go ahead and get into today's Top 5 Twisted Recap. Number 1. She had grown up, honestly, with a pretty good upbringing, but she didn't have enough attention, so she would seek attention in other ways, such as self-harm, by falling down the stairs on purpose, scraping her knee to get attention from her parents. Number 2. She went to school for her nursing and failed multiple times. And if you're a nurse and you are working on me, I prefer you have an A+ average, please and thank you. Number 3. She had somehow came up with the idea that she would gain the attention by killing these children, ultimately making her look like a loving, caring nurse that wants nothing but the best for them. In all actuality, she would be their angel of death instead of their guardian. Number 4. If she hadn't gotten the attention she had wanted from her prior lovers, she would become extremely aggressive and would attack them by yelling at them and putting them down. She would also go as far as to beat the holy living shit out of them if they didn't show her enough affection. Number 5. This deadly piece of shit of a woman kills innocent little babies by suffocation or injecting toxic levels of insulin in these children just to seek attention. And as I mentioned before, if you kill somebody, that's fucked up. It's completely messed up. Don't kill anybody. But especially a child. A child that is so innocent. It's never even done any wrong in their life. They're just a child. They're innocent and pure. And for this monster to come in and take their life just so her petty ass can get some attention. Wow. Let's get out of all this children murder and jump in this week's Florida Man. Okay, so this is slowly becoming everybody's favorite segment, so I thought I might do a little special one today. I'm going to cover a Florida man, woman, and child. So let's see what we can find. So I go on Google, and I'll do it live, and as I search, I'll search for Florida man and the date that I'm recording, but 1 year earlier. So like if I'm recording today, 1/14/22, I'll do 1/14/21. You never know what you're going to get with the Florida man. It's crazy every single time. So let's just get into it. Let's go to google.com, type in today's date and Florida man, and let's see what pops up. Okay. A Florida man is in jail charged with aggressive assault with a deadly weapon after threatening to kill his neighbor with kindness. Because of the word kindness, it had been written on the machete he used to stab his victims. So he would go around telling people he's going to kill them with kindness, oh, I'm going to kindly kill you. No, he has a fucking machete called kindness, and he runs around and stabs people with it. His name is Brian Stewart. He allegedly cut a man with a machete moments after he was heard threatening to kill somebody with kindness. Some neighbors went to the loud noise, and Stewart came out of the house with the weapon, continuously saying he was going to kill with kindness. Kill with kindness. The victim overall ended up suffering from a half-inch cut into his hand. Stewart, at the age of 30 years old, was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without the intent to kill and aggravated battery. It doesn't say how long he was in jail or anything. Okay, so there's your Florida man. If you see a guy walking around with a machete and it's not Jason, and you see a long-haired guy saying he's going to kill with kindness, run the other way. Don't even entertain it unless you got a fucking shotgun on you. Then blow his fucking balls off. But let's go ahead and check out the Florida woman. Okay, a Florida woman told deputies she gave her boyfriend just enough poison in his lemonade to shut him up and called law enforcement so he wouldn't die, according to the police report. Okay. She didn't want to kill him. She just put some poisoning in his lemonade and then was like, hey, yeah, I poisoned my husband. I poisoned my boyfriend. Come get him so he doesn't die. Okay. Deputies with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office said Alvis perished by the age of 54, a psychotic drug in his lemonade. His name is William Carter. And they had been living together for about 9 years. On December 9th, she called the authorities. When deputies arrived at her home, she was on the front porch and said she did it because he wouldn't shut up. She goes on to say, I gave him just enough to shut him up, and then I called y'all so he wouldn't die. Okay. A deputy put her in handcuffs, and Parrish continued talking. "Do whatever y'all want. If you don't take me, I will kill him," she said, according to the arrest report. A deputy who talked to Carter described him as extremely lethargic, but had difficulty interviewing him because he kept complaining about how tired he was because of all the damn medicine. Carter is 61 years old, and he had told deputies that the lemonade tasted a little funny, but he did not know why Parrish would give him the drug since he didn't usually take it. A bottle of lemonade deputies found had a powdery substance at the bottom. Carter at first didn't want to go to the hospital, but was taken to the emergency room after he collapsed to the floor. And he was also saying that he wasn't feeling well through gritted teeth. Parrish is facing a charge of poisoning food or water with intent to kill or injure a person. Online court records show that she has been appointed to the public defender, but there is no listing for the attorney's name or contact information. Records show Parrish is still in jail to this day. Thank God. Wow, okay. Sweetheart, if you're listening, please don't ever poison me and try to kill me. Or just to shut me up. Just tell me to shut up and I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet. I'll be good. Just don't try to poison me. Okay, now, lastly, let's see what Florida Child comes up with. And I want to make it just a little more of a win situation because we're talking about children. Okay, so a guardian has been found for a female child who was found wandering around at 5 a.m. Sunday morning. Officers had responded to the area and found a young female approximately 2 to 3 years old and dressed in a red Paw Patrol t-shirt near the Lexington Palms apartment complex. After an alert was issued, a police official said Florida Department of Children, Jesus Christ, why do they have so many fucking words? A police official said Florida Department of Children and Families are now investigating. And during the search of the guardian, the child was brought to FMPD headquarters, basically the police department in the area. The mother would soon get arrested and be put in jail, and the daughter would end up going and living with her father. And they lived happily ever after. See, there's not always a bad Florida situation. This started out bad, but turns out as a win. A piece of crap mom went to jail, and now their father has their daughter and is in loving arms. I mean, come on, you can't do any better than that. I mean, with what you're looking up, but what you can do is sit down and listen to these updates. Okay, so you've made it to the end of the updates. Do you guys want to know what that makes you? A Twisted Couch Club member. Yes, it doesn't cost anything. Just because you made it to the end of the show, to the updates, you now are a Twisted Club member. Welcome. Now, I started posting these pictures on Instagram and everything, of everything that I get, and they got taken down because they're a bunch of pussies and won't let me put it up on their page. So I did this for you guys. I went out of my way and categorized my description so you can see where the pictures are that I look at, the videos and everything. Go check out the description. Go look at it. It's beautiful. I worked hard on it. You'll love it. You'll find all the information that you could possibly want down there. Next, sneak peek to next week's episode, a deadly hunting accident. Now, once again, every time I get a new country, I'm going to cover you guys in a story. It's going to be fun. Finland, you're coming up really soon. I'm going to release that episode in a couple of weeks. I'm working on the story right now. It's completely twisted. This one's fucked up. Canada, you guys will be next. United Kingdom, and then Denmark right after. You guys got them coming. Thank you guys so much for listening and just making it to the end of the episode and just listening and coming back and enjoying the twist and telling me what you think and having fun with me while we go on this journey. We're up to God knows how many downloads. These downloads are coming so fast. I can't even keep track of it. Every time I check my phone, I have more downloads, and it's just so cool. And it's all thanks to you guys. So thank you. And keep spreading that beautiful, sexy twist like some jelly on some bread. You know what I'm talking about. Just keep spreading it. You guys are truly, truly amazing twist heads, and I love each and every one of you, and thank you deeply. Also, thank you guys for all the love you've been giving me. And it's so crazy hitting me up and messaging me, telling me that you love the show. I actually had a buddy of mine was like, dude, what is the mindset that you're at? Like asking me questions and just, why do you do this? And just communicating with me because it's so fun. It's so fun. I love doing this. I've always wanted to do something like this since I was a child. I mean, I would sit there and My father would listen to baseball games, and Sammy Sosa was my favorite player at the time. And I had a little boom box back in the day, and I'd put a little tape in there. I'd hit record, and I would record myself, doing a play-by-play of Sammy Sosa, playing or whatever. So I've always wanted to do this, and then just you guys coming back and listening, it means so much to me. I've always wanted to do this. So thank you guys so much. Wherever you're listening, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like it, please. Thank you so much. If you're on iTunes, give me the 5-star rating. That's the only way we're going to move up, because of their algorithms and how they work and everything, I have to have a 5-star rating. So go in there and put something down. It doesn't matter what you put. Put that a bird just flew by and shit on your shoulders. It doesn't matter what you put. I don't really care. Or if you love the show, please put that down. Anything. It doesn't matter. Thumbs up, like, heart, whatever it is you got to do, make sure you guys do that. Thank you, please, so much. Now, if any of you guys have twisted topics, places, things, ideas that you want me to cover, Colton sent me one earlier. Thanks to that twist head, I covered the Chernobyl, Chernobyl explosion, and I honestly never even heard of it. So I covered it, and it was so fun. So send them in to me, guys. Keep them coming. I have a huge list. I would love to add them to. Just email in your stories to the Facebook, wherever, and I will read them, and maybe I'll make an episode out of them, or I'll read them at the end. It just depends. But the main reason why is because there's just so much twisted talk to be had out there. There's only so many stories on the internet. The rest of them are in your guys' brains. So I want to come on over there and suck on your brains a little bit and get the story and tell it to everybody. It's going to be fun. Where to contact the show? It's in the description. twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. That's for Patreon, not Patreon. That's for PayPal. That's for the email. That's for basically anything. Twisted Couch Talk Productions. You got it. You know it. It's in your brain forever. Now, where can you find the podcast? You can find it everywhere. YouTube, iTunes, everywhere. I am everywhere, and I love it. Make sure you guys are following the Facebook page. Get over to Facebook, hit that follow button, click, click, click. Do it now. Spread the twist while you're doing it. Now, Patreon. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this real quick. Patreon is a subscription to me. I use the money to pay for my subscriptions for my podcast. Like I pay for subscriptions to produce the episode or to make the YouTube videos that cost money to do that. So that's going to help me pay for the funds to do that, to get equipment, to get a better microphone, to upgrade to video and just everything around it. And I would love to get to that. So donate to the show. I will appreciate any penny you give me. Also, PayPal, get on there. Donate. Don't be scared. Anything you send me, I will be grateful for. And every penny that you guys send me, I will give each and every one of you a shout out. You donate twice, you'll get 2 shout outs, no matter what. And if you want to be clever and use the name as like something you want to promote, hey, I don't care. I'll shout that out and I'll tell them to go, and I'll even look the website up or whatever. I'll help you out. We all are in this together. And some merch. Okay. All right. Some merch. You know what I've been thinking, right? Okay. So now we have these 2 characters, and they're definitely going to be logos. I mean, they're definitely going to be on some shirts or something. Bob, the amazing Bob Ross, and the creature Issei Sagawa. And then maybe I was thinking about, a jug of fire water on a shirt, and then some Twisted Couch Talk t-shirts, have a couch that's green and it's twisted up and it says talk underneath. You just do the picture and you read it. It's fun. It's going to be great. I have a lot of great ideas, but not until we grow big enough. So do your guys' part, spread the twist, and I'll do my part and keep giving you amazing episodes, or try to every single time. But enough. I say it every time. Enough of the business crap. Let's just put that all aside, and let's just get away from all this horrible, horrible murder and put this twisted story back on the shelf where all that dust is. I hope you guys had a great time and enjoyed the telling of that story as much as I did. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the couch next Friday with another twisted journey into the abyss. But for now, don't hurt yourself or others for attention. Whenever you go in an elevator and the lights cut off, don't get out in the hallway. Just put your couches back, kick your friends out, and we'll see you guys next Friday on the couch. And as always, stay twisted, you twisted mother lovers.